Hello, I'm Salim Abraham, you're watching InfoFeed. He was the revolutionary who promised to humanize Colombia. He was the man who told the United Nations that cocaine was less dangerous than coal. But today, Gustavo Petro, the first leftist president in Colombia's history, finds himself in the one place no world leader ever wants to be, the crosshairs of the American DEA. It's a story of power, betrayal, and the white gold that has haunted the Andes for half a century. From the halls of the White House to the jungle labs of the Catatumbo, the walls are closing in on Bogota. This is the total piece that has turned it into a total investigation.
The headlines in Washington and Bogota read like a script from a prestige crime drama. The Associated Press and the New York Times have pulled back the curtain on a massive federal probe. The US Department of Justice and the DEA have designated a sitting head of state as a priority target. To understand how we got here, we have to look at the man. Gustavo Petro is a man of contradictions. In the 1980s, he was Aureliano, a member of the M19 guerrilla movement. His enemies have never let him forget the 1985 Palace of Justice siege, a bloodbath allegedly funded by Pablo Escobar to burn extradition files. Petro says he wasn't there. His critics say his soul never left that burning building. For decades, Petro fought to prove he was a Democrat, not a narco puppet. And he won. He became mayor of Bogota, then president in 2022. But the ghosts of the past are patient. When Petro took office, he launched Paz Total. The idea? Negotiate with everyone. The ELN, the Gulf Clan, and even the Mexican Sinaloa cartel. But American prosecutors now allege that negotiation was a euphemism for bribery. Federal prosecutors in Brooklyn and Manhattan are investigating a chilling quid pro quo. The bribe. Representatives of the president allegedly entered La Picota prison to solicit donations. The reward? In exchange for funding the 2022 campaign, these traffickers were allegedly promised they would be classified as political actors, shielding them from the one thing they fear more than death, extradition to the United States. And the laundering, there are even darker whispers of using Ecopetrol, the state oil giant, to move money into foreign accounts for Petro's use after he leaves office. Ecopetrol's leadership has called these claims absurd, but the DEA is still digging. This isn't just a Petro problem. It's a Colombian tragedy. We've seen this movie before. In 1994, President Ernesto Samper was caught in the Proceso 8000 scandal. The Cali cartel had literally bought his presidency. The US revoked his visa and turned Colombia into a pariah state. History is now repeating itself with a digital age twist. While Samper had narco cassettes, Petro had a son. In 2023, Nicolás Petro admitted that illicit money entered the campaign. The president claimed it happened behind his back, the exact same phrase Samper used 30 years ago. Then there's the Washington angle. Since Donald Trump returned to power in 2025, their relationship has been a roller coaster. Trump revoked Petro's visa and labeled him an illegal drug dealer. Yet just last month, in February 2026, the two met at the White House. They smiled. Trump called him terrific. It was a classic piece of geopolitical theater. While the diplomats were shaking hands, the DEA agents were flipping witnesses. The February thaw was a smokescreen for the March storm. The US government is now operating on two tracks: diplomatic politeness at the top and a federal dragnet at the bottom.
So, where does this leave Colombia? The country is just weeks away from a pivotal election on May 31, 2026. Petro cannot run for re-election, but his legacy and his successor are now standing in the line of fire. Petro calls this lawfare. He says the Northern Empire is trying to topple a leader who refused to bow. And he might have a point. The timing of these links is surgically precise. But the evidence being gathered by the DEA is not just political rhetoric. It's a ledger of blood and bribes that spans from the streets of Medellin to the banks of New York. Is Gustavo Petro a visionary trying to end a century of violence, or is he just the latest in a long line of narco presidents who found that in Colombia? You don't fight the cartels, you just negotiate the price. The DEA has made its move. Now, the world waits to see if the revolutionary of the Andes will end his career in a palace or a federal prison. Facts inform, but stories transform.